Galactic Standard Date. Year 11356. Day 96. Sol Standard Date. 4th of the 8th, 3267. Tel Draconis watched as Basilisk flew off to inspect the ingot he had just obliterated a mountain with. She just shook her head in utter confusion before she turned to Amaranth. Lady Amaranth, I have a few questions about the Veil, if I could trouble you to answer this lowly one's questions. Amaranth's eyebrow rose as she stared imperiously down at the ant. Go ahead and ask away. If you're asking something good, I'll answer. She cleared her throat and gave a quick bow before asking her question. Why is it that saying your name invokes the powers of death and hatred, even though you no longer preside over those? Also, what do you preside over now? Amaranth gave her a playful smile. Well, good questions, young one. To answer you, my name still invokes death and hatred due to several reasons. Basilisk and I share a soul. We have bonded. Thus we technically share the responsibility of death. I haven't passed on hatred even though I made him the vessel for it. He must learn to control his emotions before I pass that particular power on. If I don't, then he will end up as I did. Insane. Because we are essentially the same entity, invoking either name will result in a successful incantation, however. Invoking my name will be better when you are enraged, and his name will be better when calm. Weird quirks of the Veil. My old name will work the same as my new name for another few thousand years. She took a second to let Draconis digest all of the new information, before she began again. Once we release my father from the seals, I will gain new authority. It is likely that I would take over from Mel's authority, as Basilisk will probably find a way to erase him permanently this time. Tel Draconis cocked her head to the side for a moment. He's going to release your father? Do you mean High Lord Akashik isn't dead? Lady Nunecia was sure that he was gone forever. Amaranth smirked at her. Oh yeah, my man over there got a personal mission from Father. They spoke while he was helping up the spiders. He has to remove the seal and release Father from whatever dimension he's being held in. Oh, by the way, apparently, humans were my father's creation. Hearing that made me want to go out and look for the templates for my people and Onesia's. Getting the Fae folk and my dragons on his side would certainly be helpful, and Basilisk possesses the power to fix our templates so we could rebirth the homeworlds of the demigods of old. The only issue is that the templates are hidden, and I have no clue how to find them. Tel Draconis jumped back and yelled, He can just revive the ancient races of demigods? Amaranth considered the question for a moment. Well, no. He can fix the damage Mel did. From there, the Veil itself will revive them. All the demigod races are originally from the Veil to begin with, even Mel's filthy Azarian vermin. Tel Draconis was about to further question Amaranth, but Basilisk suddenly dropped between them and tossed his new metal ingot at Amaranth. Not a fucking scratch. I hit it with my sword. I could split a fucking planet-class warship with this thing. So, I would like to really stress test it. Thinking of making some armor for Sylvan when we get the time. He snapped his fingers. Ah, I forgot. Got to do the sense extension thing. So, Mr. Draconis, I was also considering that instead of using the Veil energy in its raw form, I could make some more of that, Viridis? Then use it. I could just make a container for it and drink some of it. That extra pure stuff should do better with larger quantities of power because it isn't rampant energy, but calm energy, yeah? He had said all this at about 1,000,000 miles an hour because he was excited over the new metal and no ideas running through his head. She sat there staring at him as her mind caught up with everything he had just talked about. She shook her head and said, No, you can't drink Viridis. You'll explode. She looked up, but he wasn't there anymore. She looked around and saw him standing a fair distance away from them, as he created another small ball of Viridis above his head. Her heart skipped a beat as the realization dawned on her. She screamed, No! As Basilisk brought the ball of pure Veil energy to his mouth, and took a sip. As soon as he drank a sip of the purified Veil water, that the ants called Viridis, he recalled old-ass memories of when he parted with a couple of friends on his return from the Veil, and they slipped him some LSD. His vision started swimming with a hail of new colours. The Veil was no longer the same drab black and green. He could see the colours representing the other emotions and energies. They were rather muted because of the overpowering presence of death energy in the Veil. He looked back to Amaranth and Tel Draconis and was immediately taken aback by the bright green light blazing all around Amaranth that was offset by the void-black core of her soul. Tel Draconis looked like, well, an ant compared to her. The energy resting in her soul was like a candle next to a sun. He could barely make out the features of her power through the background radiation of Amaranth's power. He looked down at his own hand and saw the endless ocean of power within himself. The bright green energy was untainted by anything as it ebbed and flowed through him. He slowly inspected his body and watched the flow of energy before he tried to pull some from his core. He watched as the tendrils of green energy pulled from the vast ocean that was his soul before they were drawn into the air. He changed the attribute of the energy into lightning, and the crackle of electricity was far more pronounced than it had ever been. He could hear the echoes in the veil that the lightning was causing. It was a haunting sound akin to the sound of a TIE fighter from Star Wars, but bass boosted. He looked off into the distance, and he could make out a shimmering, almost invisible energy.